Welcome to Love Where You Live by DeLilly Home. This is Mary Powell of DeLilly.
And I am Allison Kelly, and today we are here with Laura Whitaker and Jennifer Sims, and they're going to talk to us about ESP, which is a new to our area nonprofit.
Yes, and that's why we're so excited to have y'all here today because this is new for High Point and it's new for North Carolina because y'all are just reaching over the borders of Georgia. But it's a very exciting nonprofit. In part of with our podcast is Love Where You Live in around High Point, the North Carolina area, is something adding to our community that's going to help and make it better place for people to live, for people to move to. So anyway, people may be wondering, what is ESP?
Yeah.
What I've seen things on social media because y'all have been making a splash and social media. Eva has been doing a good job.
Yeah, this has
So
been a big week for you guys.
it has.
Yes,
I know.
yeah.
So tell everyone, what is ESP?
Well, we are super excited to be here. This is like the second to last day of what we call launch week. So, ESP does change the community for the better. It's actually in our mission statement. We exist to create transformative experiences for people with disabilities and their families, changing communities for the better. And that after the comma, as I call it, is so important because this will be our fifth community. And so, this is kind of our fifth proof of concept. Never in North Carolina.
Yes.
Never out of the city, out of the state of Georgia.
We're
We are
excited.
so excited that this is the first ever community outside of the state of Georgia. And what we know about our mission, we've been around for 40 years. And what we know is that after the comma part of our mission statement is true, the ripple effect of what we do, it's not just for people with disabilities and their families. It's the 18-year-old who volunteers with ESP, who just got to High Point University, who might be in school to go to vet school or dental school, and they change to pre-med, and then they become a more compassionate, more well-rounded doctor one day.
Yeah.
It's the 13-year-old that starts to volunteer with us at summer camp that it can't be silly anywhere else outside, has no idea who they are as a 13-year-old, and they come to ESP and they find the best version of themselves on the other side of service at ESP. So it really does ripple out. It'll take some time. Our focus right now is finding families that have a child with a disability, and Jennifer and her family really were. They started it all here in North Carolina, which is pretty cool. And it's kind of neat to hear and a fascinating story to hear how we got here.
Yeah, it is. And tell everyone real quick, what does ESP stand for?
Yeah, it stands for Extra Special People Incorporated. Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Yeah, Jennifer's our High Point connection.
Yes.
I wish all of y'all were moving up here. You're fun to be with. But we were in the very beginning learning about it. I was like, God, this is so great. It's going to make our community even better. I don't have special needs kids, but I have friends that do, and I know that this is going to help their life, enrich the children, but then also the parents, the family, everyone. So Jennifer, obviously moved here from Georgia, so that's how you knew about it.
Yes. So our daughter Lucy is now 21. She was born with a syndrome called trisomy 9 syndrome. It's very rare, and she was our angel baby. She survived, and all of her major organs are normal, and but she does have disabilities. And she grew up in Watkinsville, Georgia. It's where our family is from, and ESP is housed right there in Watkinsville. I'm a former school teacher and already knew about ESP before Lucy came into the world. Helped raise money for ESP like years ago. Nobody prepares you for something like that.
Yeah.
And it was just so wonderful. A good friend of mine who is a professor at UGA stopped me on a 4th of July weekend and said, "You need to have Lucy at ESP." And she was 2 years old then. And so my friend Allison introduced me to ESP as a parent.
Yeah.
I already knew about it, but I didn't realize how much it was really going to change our lives.
I was going to say, you knew about it beforehand, which is so interesting that.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Before. That's so cool.
I thought
things just work out the way
Mm-hmm.
they're supposed to.
They do. And so there, Lucy, so she started attending camp when she was 5 and has attended camp every summer except for that dreaded COVID summer when
Yes.
everybody was scared to breathe outside.
Yes.
So that was her only summer. But if we had not had that, I don't know what our lives would have looked like. Now that after living here for a few years without like constant ESP interaction,
Yeah.
Huge resource.
so she would go to after school activities, like I said, summer camp, club activities, and it gave her an outlet that our other children, so she's our youngest of 4, and it gave her an outlet that our other children already had in their lives.
Right.
And it gave her friends
Mm-hmm.
in a friend group. And it's nothing, you cannot put a price on watching children, like teenagers, adults, love on your special needs child.
Yeah.
It's priceless.
Yeah.
And when we moved here, we had several things that she did within our community here, but nothing was exactly like ESP. And one of the things that with the programs that we already do have going on in the Triad area, they're going to connect with ESP, and we're all going to be able to serve the population together. Truly, there's not enough resources.
Right.
And so this will be, we're all like last night we had someone reach out that has a farm in Wetsit that works with special needs, and I cannot wait to connect with them. She met with my husband last night, so we've got her
Oh,
card,
nice.
and like that is just one more partnership we will
Yes.
have in supporting this population in our area.
Someone had asked me that. They had said, "Well, is that competition for other places?" I'm like, "No, it is adding, y'all welcome, ESP wants to work with different organizations because what makes ESP different than some of the other like organizations that are already around?"
Well, I'll answer as a parent. Our daughter is pretty much nonverbal. She does speak in we call it Lucy talk,
Mm-hmm.
and we understand her. But if she were to go out on the street and talk to someone, I'm not sure if they would understand her. And one thing that ESP, she's accepted. She's accepted no matter, she cannot talk.
Mm-hmm.
She may have a behavioral issue. She's accepted. And also there is a buddy there for her at camp. So I'm not just dropping her off somewhere where she can be with a group of people that are like her. I know also that she's well cared for.
Yeah.
She's a friend there all day long. And she also needs a friend to kind of help her interact with others, model for her.
Mm-hmm.
And to be a friend to her really. And so that's a lot of things that ESP offers that a lot of places don't, is that volunteer.
Yeah.
And that volunteer component that's so great that actually ends up changing the volunteer's life
Yeah.
just as much as it affects our child's life. And then the other thing is just being inclusive to accepting every disability. A lot of times things are just for families with this certain situation, like
Mhm.
autism or Down syndrome or cancer, but this is accepting of all disabilities.
And all ages
In
too,
all
right?
ages,
Yeah, there's no
yes.
age limit to
There's
it.
no
Sounds
age
like it's
limit.
more accessible. Like it's a very accessible
Mhm.
organization for people who need and I think we've talked about that with some of the other groups we've had on the podcast. Just bringing accessibility to people in our community for all
Mhm.
different things is so important.
And I think culture is really important too, right? I think what makes ESP unique is that buddy relationship, that one-on-one relationship comes from high school and college students.
Yeah.
And so it is cool to be there. It is fun. Lucy wants to go and be with her buddy. It's not a service that we're providing, that we're mandated to provide.
Yeah.
It is an experience that we have the opportunity to give. And there's a difference in those two things. There's a difference in caring for somebody and wanting someone.
Yes.
And for us, because we're funded by generous individuals and we don't have a large government funding that's mandating the way we do our work,
Mhm.
our culture is very different. It's young, it's youthful, there's a lot of energy. And then, as you mentioned, the comprehensive component to every ability, all ages. And I
Yeah.
think that's very unique and very different.
It-
And we never turn a family away due to their inability to
Yeah.
pay. And so that level of accessibility, you hit it, is unique, and is really different when families come in. They're constantly knocking down doors saying,
Yeah.
will you accept my child? Or going to restaurants and getting stared at. All of a sudden they come to ESP and it's like, wait, you guys were created for us?
Yes.
Like the doors open, we know their name, we know what makes them tick. We're
Mhm.
dancing in a banana costume with a bunch of pom poms and door wide open
Yeah.
instead of having to knock down the door in order to get there.
But it's the volunteers, because I know you've talked about it a lot,
Yes.
is that is it's almost like its own separate, like teaching people to see beyond their boundaries and accepting people for who they are, and not being scared of people. We talked about, I know, a little bit in the book, which we'll get to in a little bit. Talk about growing up, because too, being in school, we had, extra special people there, and it was kind of like, oh, don't,
They were
don't
over
talk to
there.
them.
Yes.
Yeah, you said everything. Yeah, yeah. It's very separated.
It's and that's exactly how we change communities for the better.
Mhm.
It's my story walking in not knowing who I was at 18 years old and finding the best version of myself at ESP because my abilities were activated there. But it's also like in Rome, we had one family share a story, and I think there's stories in the book, about, they just joined, like a lot of people joined Jennifer and helped start ESP
Mhm.
in Northwest Georgia. And they have two typically developing daughters. At the time, one was in middle school and one was in high school. And when they tell their story, they were like, we knew this was going to be good for our friends. We had no idea
Yeah,
how good ESP was going to be for our family.
yeah.
It galvanized their family. It gave their family a common language about, like, what does it look like to love my neighbor? What does it look like to lean into some awkwardness? What does it look like to serve? And so the mom is the chair of our board. The dad's on our national board. The daughter went to UGA so that she could still be at ESP at the
Oh my
University of,
gosh.
of Georgia. And then the other daughter, who's now in high school, is one of our active volunteers and summer staff members. And so their
Wow.
whole family,
Yeah.
never having a child with special needs, is changed for the better
That's awesome.
from ESP being in their community.
Well, and you've got, and I know y'all met with Dr. Quibane before this,
Yeah.
and we joked that he warmed you up for us.
He
'Cause-
did. He did. He gave me a good warm up. Yes. But it was so cool to be on campus.
It's a great campus, I know. But you've got, I mean, it's so nice that you've gotten with him as well, because you've got the college, you've got HPU, and then you've got all the high schools around here.
Yes.
Yeah, for kids to be
Yes.
able to, and we've got principals. I can hook you up with High Point Central. I mean, I
Yes.
don't know if you've met with them yet or not, Mr. Hettenbach, but
We're in the process. So all the
perfect.
teachers know. So Lucy has actually skipped school all week
Oh,
as she's not been at High
she's
Point
like,
Central.
yes.
So they know, yes, and we have actually gotten some of our new participants or new members of our ESP and High Point are her fellow students.
Oh, good, good. Well, I did want to ask, are you going to do the summer camp here in High Point? I know it's the first year.
Mhm.
Like, what are the plans? What opportunities do people have to be involved?
Yeah. So all of our information is on our website. So new families can sign up through our website, which is espUandme.org. And then if they're interested in volunteering, they can find out information there too. We have 2 weeks of camp. I'll let Jennifer talk a little bit more about that. But we have formed a really special partnership with First Baptist
Mhm.
here downtown. And so we're going to host our programs and events there
Oh, okay.
until we get a more permanent
Right around the
space.
corner.
Literally,
there.
yeah, a stone's
Literally.
throw right
Yeah.
here. And it's so exciting because we want to be accessible to town, but just as you hit on, we want to be accessible to the university. I mean, that
Mhm.
is the key component. So if there's someone listening that has a high school student or if they're a college student, they can look on our website, espUandme.org, and sign up to volunteer. We also have some paid positions as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I think service has become something that we're looking at for a resume for college
Yeah, absolutely.
or like hours that we have to accredit in college. And I write about this in the book. service is where I found myself.
Mhm.
And like, if you want to figure out who you are as a human and what abilities you have, serving at an organization like ESP is the easiest way to do that because there is no pressure.
Yeah.
There's no grade you're going to get for it. There's no one watching you. There's no performance. There's no win on a field and now students, and I have one of my own high school students, are so programmed to perform.
To just check a box.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get an A, get a grade.
Yes. And we do that with service, but then you come and you serve. So if you're a mom out there and you want to help your child to become, and I hear this all the time, I want my children to be kind. I want them to be compassionate. And
Mhm.
yet sometimes we as parents don't model that. So there's that. And number two, we have to give them freedom. Like my son plays football. He plays on both sides of the field, but I told his coach in the very beginning, he's going to miss 2 weeks out of practice.
Yeah.
And his coach at first was like, and I was like, if you want him to play,
Yeah, this
it is more important for him to spend 2 weeks at ESP than it is 2 additional weeks on the football field. It will build his character.
Mhm.
It will build his compassion. It will build his courage far more than anything will those 2 weeks. So we as parents have to advocate for our kids to get out of that performance cycle
Yeah.
and actually lean into things that we have had college students tell me ESP was single-handedly far more impactful to my college or high school career than any class I took, any professor that leaned in. It built who I am today. And I think we have to leave room for that for
Yeah.
our kids.
It's life-changing stuff. That's huge. And to give that opportunity to typically developing children and also special needs, like it's just really special. I'm so happy that you guys are here.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so, I mean, as soon as we heard about it, we're like,
Yeah.
that's a great idea. Like, why hasn't someone come up with that before? You know? So,
Right.
and I think it takes extra special people like Laura to run it and to, keep it going and make it bigger because I know your campuses in Georgia, you've got some really large, which this what's going to happen in High Point
It
too.
will.
Yeah. It's just going to become bigger and bigger. Speaking of camp, tell us about the camp.
Yes.
So we will have 2 weeks of camp this summer, a week in June 15th, and a week in August, which I cannot recall the date at the moment, but
The very first week in August. I
we
think.
have it on our website. We're going to be launching our camp sign up pretty soon, right after this week.
Oh, good.
So we've got an event coming up on April 11th, which is going to be an ESP pop-up event. And it'll kind of give you families a look at what a day of camp is like.
Okay.
And also just a time for families to meet and get to know each other and get to know ESP.
Yeah.
So we did have Carolina Core had us out at their facility yesterday.
I saw.
And it was so much fun to be there. But also, that was the first time our families have met. So families that are just joining us,
I got
and it was just community aspect.
Yes.
Building. Yes. And it was just so wonderful to see the participants out there on the field kicking the soccer ball around with the athletes and it's just like, and this is just, there's going to be so much more to come. It's just the beginning. It's just the beginning.
Well,
and it's already so great.
I was going to say, and you as a parent, I mean, that's got to be something huge for you.
I felt like such a bad parent because my daughter Lucy ran right out there and got that soccer ball and started playing. And I was like, when is the last time we've had a soccer ball in our house? Like, thankfully, all of our children have like launched out of our house very well. And we are now, my husband Wes and Lucy and I are empty nesters. And so I've kind of forgotten what that life is like, having like basketballs all over the backyard and things like that. And so I told I was like, we have got to pick up a soccer ball because she had the most fun kicking the soccer ball yesterday, even just by herself.
Yes.
But it was also her enthusiasm this week of being with her people.
Yeah.
And today she was like, Mom, more ESP tomorrow. And I'm like, yes, more ESP tomorrow. And she has been saying also all week, ESP here and ESP at home. I'm like,
Oh,
yes,
yes.
we now have ESP in High Point, which is her here. And we also will always have ESP at home. A little bit about how we got here. In COVID, when you guys had to recreate, how are we going to serve our families? And y'all did a great online program that we got to experience. So they started looking at how could we do this in another city?
Yeah.
And so during those years, we continued to go back to camp in the summers. And as they were working on, I think you had already launched Rome and Atlanta, and you were looking into Savannah. And I said, has anyone asked you to come out of state yet?
High Point?
And I was like, you've got to see where we have moved to. And a lot about love where you live. We loved where we lived in Watkinsville. It was like a little Hallmark movie. Everyone knew everyone. We had like 3 red lights in our downtown area. And then we got to High Point, and we're moving to the big city.
Not often do we hear that. But
Well, in my mind,
take
in
it.
our minds, that's what we were thinking.
Yeah.
But actually, it was really a small town community within the big city that found us.
Yeah.
And we happened to move into a neighborhood that we moved in on a Friday night. And which it was supposed to be Friday during the day, but you know how moves happen. We
Yes.
finally
We're familiar,
got to
yeah.
our destination. And that Saturday morning, we had a gentleman that was in the furniture business that knew my husband really well, with 2 or 3 boxes of Granny's donuts. I was like,
Yes.
what's going on? This was amazing. And then that night, our where we live, our little circle neighborhood, threw us a cookout that very night. And then
Yes.
my son was getting texts going, hey, can I go to this party? I was like, we don't even know anyone. How are you getting invited to places?
New kid in town, new kid. That's what all of us. There's a new family in town.
Well, that's how we were so welcomed. And then people would give us their tickets to fundraising events.
Oh, yeah.
And so we would attend fundraisers. And that's how we really got to know so many people in town.
Yeah.
And this town, everyone is just so welcoming, so giving, so ready to lend a hand to your neighbor, to lift someone else up. I was like, I really think that if they knew a little bit about ESP, it would really fit here.
Yeah.
And then, so one of those years that Lucy was at camp, so our routine is she's such a daddy's girl, and we've spent like a whole week in Athens. And so that Friday afternoon, when I pick her up from camp, we get in the car and we drive straight back home because she's got to see dad.
Yeah.
And so we pull in on a Friday summer night, and our neighbors and my husband are out on their front porch and hanging out. And so we walk over, and one of our friends, the Tony and Kirsten Bertie, on their front porch, and our friend Allison Aldridge was sitting there with them. And she was like, Jen, I just saw your Instagram or your videos of Lucy at camp. And she's like, that is amazing.
Yeah.
And she's, I've never seen so much joy on Lucy. I said, that is her place. And the topic came about, how do we get that here?
So that's where it started.
And that's kind of where it started. And I was like, well, we can start asking how we can get that here, but it's going to take a lot of people to get behind it. And people did.
Yeah.
And at first I was scared to ask. And another, one of our other board members, she was one of the first people that she just said, Jen, just ask.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
ask. And if people are going to say no, just ask again. Ask someone else.
Keep
And so I, I don't know. I got my big girl pants on and just started asking.
You did a good job.
And
You called me or
think
emailed me.
So the 5 of us that started asking and also introducing ESP to the community were all moms. And I think that had 3 of us have children with disabilities, and 2 of us do not, but their heart in it 110%.
Yeah.
And so which it takes all of us. And it was just amazing to see my friends who just know about our life from seeing our lives, to see that world, are behind this and wanting to change the community for the better.
So there's a few things in my mind I want to ask you about.
Uh-huh.
One, are there like after school classes, not just a summer camp, and also joy, yeah, so
Yes.
Joyrista.
Yeah.
Tell me about those things.
Yeah. So right now in High Point, we will start with things excellently, but we won't start with everything yet until we can build to the full package. So here in High Point, we will have a few weekend club events is what we call them. So it's a come drop off for a few hours. Family can go to the grocery store, get their nails done. It's one of my favorite stories about a mom who hadn't got her nails done since her daughter was born. And
Oh gosh.
she worked a full-time job and then
Yeah.
came home and then was a mom. And on the weekends, she was with her daughter. And she came to a club, dropped her daughter off. It took a while to get her mom out the door,
Oh,
which it does sometimes.
yeah.
And then she was like, I think I'm gonna go get my nails done. And she came back just beaming. You know, her daughter was happy, she was happy, she had beautiful nails. So we do club programs, and we'll do that here in High Point. We do our family dinners, which we have tonight. And that is a free family dinner. That is where community is built between families, and
Right.
it's so beautiful. One of the things that we say all the time is no apologies.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another mom who said, like, you know, my child gets things all over their shirt when they eat, and I'm constantly apologizing. And I went to an ESP family dinner, and it was like, no apologies.
Yeah.
You know, whatever noise, whatever,
Yeah. I do the
whatever it
same
is.
thing. I'm always wearing whatever
Same,
I mean,
same.
it never fails.
And so, and then we'll have summer camp along
Okay.
with Java Joy here. And Java Joy is a mobile coffee cart. So if you're a business listening, we want you to book us. It's catering style. It's really not about the coffee, it's about the experience that you get. A little different than a brick and mortar where you would choose to go to that coffee shop instead of Starbucks or whatever.
Right.
Java Joy kind of interrupts the normal day to day. You go to your work or business, you're there, you happen to have this interaction with a Joyrista, which is barista plus joy equals Joyrista. You get your hug, you get your question of the day, and you leave feeling a little more joyful.
Question of the day.
Question
See,
of
I
the
haven't gotten
day.
to go.
Question
I
of the
know.
day.
I like
So that's how we're starting here in High Point, and we'll grow our programs. Our fully built out program has some day programming, after school programming, so everything from art, cooking, crafting,
Oh, nice.
sports, all different types of things. Weekend events, Miracle League games,
Yes.
and then in Athens we have 8 weeks of summer camp.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
along with all of our family programs that we
Yeah.
do. So, it will grow over time as we build our staff, as we build our funding, as we build here in High Point, we'll grow our programs.
Yeah. That's awesome. And something to look forward to too. You
Absolutely.
got to get started. You do have to, you can't just go all in.
And we want to do it well.
Yes, exactly. Laura, we've talked about joy a few times. You have written a book called The Joy Exchange.
Yes.
Yes. So tell us a little bit, like, I have started reading it.
Yes.
I'm not a big reader, so that is a plus right there.
The fact that
I
you
don't read, so
you started reading it.
Never heard Mary Powell
No.
say she's read a book.
No.
Ever in our
So-
entire
At the
lives
beach
together,
sometimes.
picture.
W-
Did you
Yes,
read the book I
I
dropped off at your house?
did.
Okay.
Yes, when I had knee replacement,
Okay.
I read
Okay,
those.
I take.
I just didn't tell you
I
about 'em.
had surgery.
Yes.
But
My
literally, I've never had Mary Powell.
No, I don't just go buy books and read them.
Okay.
So
The
that's
true
pretty-
testament is
that's
going to
pretty
be if
darn
you
good.
finish it.
I'm sure I will. I will.
There you go.
Yeah,
Well,
but
my hope is that she's going to love it so much. And we have heard from a lot of people who said, I'm not a reader and I couldn't put it down. So that's always like a compliment to an author. It's so accessible. Like the book, I had written 150,000 words, which doesn't mean anything to the average person, but I was only contracted for 65,000 words. So it's basically half the book that I wrote. But what was, awesome is I was able to work with an editor that I know, and he taught me how to take the same premise of what I wanted to say or the same story and really bring it down to fewer words, short, punchy sentences.
yeah.
In today's world, we really don't read a whole lot.
Mm-mm.
And so our attention span, and so there are these short, more pithy statements, quick research, my story, all of that in there. So it's called The Joy Exchange, Finding Life's Greatest Lessons in Those You Least Expect. And it really is a life book. It's a leadership book. It's about the 20 years of lessons that I've learned from people with disabilities, people like Lucy, people that I've been around that have taught me what the world kind of untaught me
Yeah.
over, and what we all kind of need to get back to in terms of humanity and leaning in and how we see each other, how we treat
Yes.
each other. And so really it's a book for everybody.
In the beginning, like you were just saying, because like I said, I'm going to prove to you right now, I have read some about the dandelion, about
Yes.
how when you ask a small child, what do you think about a dandelion? It's like, oh, pretty yellow flower in the yard. I know we used to make like crowns with them and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then you ask an adult what they think about a dandelion, they're like, it's a weed. It's a
Yes.
weed. Get the Roundup out.
Allergies.
Yeah, allergies, that sort of thing. So it's
Yes.
just seeing things differently.
People have a really hard time describing joy. It's like,
Yeah.
what is it? And then if you ask, because I did my research while I was writing the book, and people are like, it's happiness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what most people say.
Mm-hmm.
And I share in the book my kind of 20 years of research plus a lot of longitudinal research on joy that's out there. It's actually one of the least studied subjects, but there is a lot of research out there about the brain and about joy. Kind of matched with my own experience. And what I found is that joy is very different than happiness. Happiness happens, it's very circumstantial. You might feel really happy when you get a good latte, or you get to sit and go to
Clothes
the
on a
beach,
house.
or you close on a house. And so it's circumstantial. And then what happens? You turn around and start thinking about the next house you're going
Yeah.
to sell, right?
Mhm.
Joy is something that that lasts far longer than that, and it has
Yeah.
everything to do with relationships. And so, what they've found about joy is that you're not born with it. Like sometimes people say, well, that person's more joyful than the other.
Mhm.
Well, actually, research says that we're all born with the same capacity for joy. And all of us are moms, right?
Mhm.
We all remember that moment where you're holding your infant and your husband comes home and he's like, what'd you do all day? And you're like, I don't know. I
Yes.
just fed
Holding.
this baby, changed this baby, and stared at this baby all
Yeah.
day long.
This.
Yes. A lot.
Yeah.
And you could stare. And even now, when I see an infant, because I'm past those stages, I just want to like hold him and stare at him.
Yeah.
And it's because what you're doing is you're building their joy capacity, because joy is being delighted in and exchanging that in return. So when an infant is being oodled over,
Yeah.
and just like people are just oohing and awing over them, they're building their joy capacity. They're
Oh,
it's
really?
communicating, I'm delighting in you. I want to be with you,
Yeah.
and you want to be with me. And so as our culture changes and we're looking at our phones all the time and we're,
Mhm.
focused and we're not leaning into the awkwardness, we forget the power of what it feels like to be delighted in, to lean in. And so as I found this research, I'm like, that's why ESP is so joyful.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people with disabilities never unlearned that.
Right.
They didn't get awkward. They still, Megan with Down syndrome, who's one of our joy Joyristas, is happy to see me. We just went on a business trip. I'd go to the bathroom, come back in the room, and she'd be happy to see me again. And that's joy. That's
Yeah.
exchanging joy, is to delight in one another, put down the technology, put down the awkwardness, and be with one another and delight in one another. And that's how we build our joy capacity. So the book talks all about that, tells my story, but that's really what joy truly is.
That's really cool. I've never
That is
thought about
really
it like
interesting.
that.
I know that's Lucy's claim to fame is her joyness, excitement for when dad comes home.
Just gone for like 6 hours.
She's that way when she sees people that she knows.
Oh.
And she sees people that really see her.
Mhm.
And if she gets excited about seeing you, that's a huge compliment
Compliment, yeah.
because somewhere in her little mix of loosiness, she knows people that genuinely care for other people. We had a couple in church that, in our old church back in Watkinsville, Georgia, and our boys were all best friends. And I'll never forget one time they came into church late and Lucy was like, stood up, the Wards are here. And so our pastor is like, welcome,
Have a seat.
and so, but if you are ever celebrated by, and not just Lucy, by Megan,
Yeah.
like that is just pure love and joy. And that is something I wish I could bottle,
Oh,
and but it's just so special.
Yeah, I once heard there's a difference in seeing someone and someone being seen.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And like that's what she's talking about with Lucy, Lucy being seen by someone and
Yeah.
her response to that. But it doesn't just, I learned it from people like Lucy, but I think about it every day, like as a mom, practically, like it's easy for me to greet people maybe at work or something like that with delight. But how much more do my own children need that? Or my
Yeah.
husband need that?
I know.
Or hard people in my family to love? Like, the way we build our joy capacity with the people we love most is a lot of times how we greet them, how we show up, how we show with bright eyes and a smile that we want to be with them. And then sometimes everything else follows after that.
Right.
Like your heart kind of comes along with it. But if we want to build the joy exchange within our homes, that's one practical that I've learned from this research and really taken to heart is like, I want to be like Lucy. I want to be like Megan. I want the people that I love to know that I delight in them.
Once you get to see ESP in action, that's what you all are wonderful at. They start the day of camp cheering for each child that gets out of a car. If it gets out of the car rider line, and they do also have things for, because sometimes a lot of that is too much stimulation for a child. So there'll be like a separate drop off if that child doesn't enjoy that. But like Lucy will like, mom, roll down the windows, like like we're getting
It's
ready.
coming up.
They're gonna call my name, and and she's not saying all those words, but that's what she's like when she says roll down the windows. That's what she means. I can't wait for my name. And there is music, and there's laughter, and there's joy, and there's that sense of you belong here. And that is some of the culture that ESP has that there's not everywhere. We didn't find that in some other places.
Right.
And then when we visited those places, Lucy was like, okay, let's go. It did not take her long to figure out, this isn't a good place for me, maybe.
Right.
But that's one thing that ESP has done in all of her 14 years of attending any kind of program. And it could be a day at camp. The very next day, she's been at camp for 4 days. The very next day on that Friday, they cheer her again, like every day. And if in afternoon school activities and anything they do, each participant is welcomed like they haven't seen them in forever. The first time I ever dropped Lucy off, I cried, like obviously happy tears, but just emotional tears, just like probably the whole week of just dropping her off every day, watching the joy from afar and just watching. And also it's taught Lucy, and that's how you welcome people. It's taught her to cheer everyone on. And in fact, like a couple of times I have done speaking engagements, and if she is there, she's going, go mom, and everybody sees it and hears it. So but that's just the beauty of what ESP is.
Yeah.
So
That is awesome. High Point is just so lucky to have this new opportunity, this new nonprofit in town. And I think it's definitely going to change everyone, the participants and the volunteers.
This has just been so impactful, I think. I thought I had a good idea of what you guys did, and just learning about these connections, real like that, like you're saying about Lucy and her feeling connected to someone. That's what I just keep feeling like that's what it is. This is all about a connection and like people feeling accepted and connected and a part of this really great thing. And I'm just really thankful that you guys are here.
I know. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having us, and thanks for letting me visit.
Of course. Anytime.
It is pretty cool. I mean, every once in a while I'm like, maybe we'll move to High Point.
Yeah.
From Athens.
We'll find you somewhere to live for sure.
I know you will. I know you will. But it's an amazing community, and I have said so many times, like High Point hugged us back, and I really do think we put it out there, and so many people rallied around, and there's still so many people we need to do that.
Oh my gosh.
Like we've only just touched the surface, and once you
Yes.
get involved with ESP, there's just something about it, and you don't want to leave, whether you're a corporate partner that helps fund the work that we do, whether you're a donor, whether you're a volunteer or a family that we serve, or a high school student, or whoever you are. It's one of those things that changes you and you leave better. So I can't wait to see it grow here in High Point. Thanks for having us.
I'm excited. And again, the website is
ESPUandme.org.
perfect.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank y'all very much.
Thank you guys.
thank you so much.